Hi, Dr. Joseph Martin here again. I hope you're enjoying your day. We have a very interesting topic for today, and it's called From Victimhood to Victor. From being a victim, which most of us are in society, whether we know it or not, to becoming a victor and someone who can champion yourself in your life in every way. Now, this is the beginning of an introduction to a new series, which is called I Am Self Worth. It's an online self-knowledge educational program for yourself. I have spent my entire life getting out of being victimized, and either myself victimizing myself, or as many circumstances, being a victim of my family, my parents, my sibling, or society at large, the institutions. And many of you will also recognize the need to get out of that state and find some truth and awareness and growth towards your own victorhood, if we can use that word. Whether you're a man, whether you're a woman, whether you're young, whether you're old, any religious background, ethnic background, sexual orientation, any skin color, eye color, nose color, whatever it may be, you probably, if you're like all humans on the planet, need to get out of the state of being a victim. It is the cause of some of our greatest challenges on the planet right now. It's perhaps one of the greatest causes of your loneliness, your depression, your anxiety, your sense of trauma, your sleeplessness, your physical body illnesses or unhealth or unwellness, a sense of mental confusion or despair or emotional heaviness. We're going to get into that all in a minute. And of course, this is just an introduction. However, this does encompass 42 years of clinical work with thousands of clients and workshop attendees, and research as a medical anthropologist, psychological anthropologist at the University of Toronto and beyond, and also all the reading that I've garnered from other people who have gone through similar processes and have brought great books of healing to the world. Let's just start with the basis of being victim. It is a mentality that feels that you're not good enough, that you're less than, and there's a loss of identity or a lack of identity. And also there's a sense of just great inner lack of self-love. When we do an archaeology of the emotional state of the human psyche, both in the conscious and the unconscious, we realize that there are a number of series or stages of kinds of emotion that we need to deal with in order to work through all these and do transformational psychological, emotional, energetic processes in our spiritual body, in our mental body, in our emotional body, and in our physiological biochemical body, to clear all the blockages, open up all the channels, if you like, heal the organs, and just give a greater sense of grounding in your physical body and centering, balance, flow, flexibility, and harmony. Briefly, we'll go through three major kinds of emotions that all humans have, and these are the ones that are core and key for you to be able to come to some sense of championing yourself and your inner child. You'll find that a lot of this work does need to be done with your unconscious inner child or children from your own past life experience or your childhood in this life itself. The first kinds of emotions we need to deal with are anger, rage. Now, it seems that more and more, for all the reasons we know and maybe don't know in society, on the streets now, there is more anger and rage than ever. Rage is defined as historical anger that's been blocked and held inside the body, the unconscious mind, and the emotional astral body. We know that there's more bullying in schools, on the streets, senseless, needless, psychopathic, sociopathic, hurting, maiming, killing, shooting, bombing, and so on. And this is worldwide. It's not just in the schools of North America. It happens between nations and cultures and ethnic groups and so on. And often children and women, And gays and lesbians and people of color, particularly black people, Asian people, are the victims of all of this. This is because people who feel a lack of confidence have a superiority complex, and in this superiority complex have to react and lash out and project their own hidden inner shadow, which we'll get to in this entire series, onto other people and to murder them, to kill them, to put them down as a way of falsely trying to make themselves feel better. So anger and rage. Now, tied in with anger and rage, when you have been, let's say, physically abused, there are 7 kinds of abuse. We won't go into all the different kinds of ways you have been or could have been abused. But let's say physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, verbal abuse. These are some of them. That the body response and the unconscious psyche response, particularly as you're a child or a woman or even a man, or at any age, in fact, of heavy wet blankets placed on top of your mind, your head, your shoulders, your body. You feel heavy, you feel depressive, you feel low in energy, you feel like things are your fault, you feel ashamed for things that may not at all be your fault. And it's a strange thing, but it seems to be true to human nature, that the victims often feel they're the ones to blame. Of course, that's completely a lie, it's false. And when you recognize that, you're well on your road to starting a recovery. Shame is the most durable kind of emotion in the sense that it's very much part of our cellular psychic matrix, and it's a very challenging one to transmute and transform into some positive feeling of joy, hope, and courage and strength and self-confidence. Now, one of the greatest reasons for this is that our families, in my long training as a marriage and family therapist and teaching this at the University of Guelph, I understood that our families are very shame-based, and this is cross-cultural in all the nations and groups and ethnic groups of the world. And that, in fact, we well know now as scientists that the entire society is shame-based. All our institutions are shame-based. The educational institution is shame-based. The injustice system is shame-based. The courts are shame-based, the way that they racially profile people. And everything is shame-based. Our entertainment is shame-based, the way we're made to laugh at people who are victimized and hurt and put down. So if you're living in an insane society that is completely shame-based, you have to be a very courageous person to want to and be able to do some inner work and do your inner healing and go right for the core of what's needed. And as Carl Jung would say, jump right in where the pain is the deepest and just dive in, make it a swan dive, and go in and do the healing. When you're in the midst of the pain and suffering, that's where the greatest healing can and will happen for you. All the thousands of people I've worked with can attest to this fact, and of course my life is a testimony, as many others are as well. So shame is a really important thing. So beyond shame, we get to the next level in the second set of emotions in the archaeology of the psyche, which is sadness and grief and loneliness and depression. It's clear from the World Health Organization and anyone you speak to that loneliness and depression are the greatest mental challenges on the planet today in every society, in every culture, in every walk of life. Many of you listening are probably owning up to the fact as you hear my voice that loneliness is helping you in no way to get in touch with yourself. And what you really need and choose and would like to do is to follow that inner soul, that inner child, to create friendships with yourself, first of all, with your own higher self, with spiritual masters perhaps, and do that inner work that's going to help you deal with your sadness and your grief, which is creating a great amount of loneliness and depression. Most people feel isolated in life, particularly men more than ever, of all ages and backgrounds. You might have a buff body, but you're in tears and you're in despair inside and you have no one to speak to. And And it's a very challenging kind of prison of the soul for a lot of men and, of course, women and people of color. Beyond that, and again, we'll get into this further in other videos, at the very bottom of the archaeology of the soul and emotions in the human psyche and personality are fear, terror, and dread. Fear is separate from anxiety. We'll look at that in the future. Terror is maximizing the fear that you feel, and of course, many people are consciously and unconsciously terrorized and anxious around the state of the world economy, the state of the environment, the state of the global elite and the impoverishment of most people in the world these days, the climate changes and challenges that we're all experiencing every day in every part of the world where we live, and also the social injustice and the split offness from our indigenous roots as people native to the earth. And of course, we're all native to the earth. We need to survive and live and support our Mother Earth in all our relations. Mitakuyo Yasin, we say in Lakota. So, in dread, the definition of dread is some projected fear of the future, of something catastrophic that will come to pass. And of course, as we've said in other videos, fear is false evidence appearing real, and you really must need to deal with all these. You might want to look at the 2 other videos on how you can transform all your fears, including the greatest fear, the fear of death. Now, having said all that, this joyful experience that we're sharing here is, when you deal with the truth and the truth comes out, which it always does sooner or later, then, it will give you a sense of freedom and a sense of hope, and it will give you a sense of courage and increasing self-confidence, self-worth, which will lead to the path of self-love. There's an acronym that I like to use. It's called SOARR. It's like the eagle here that I have with me while watching you and hopefully sharing with you and watching over you as well. SOARR, S-O-A-R-R, which stands for surrender. The operative word in any kind of healing process is surrender. Just surrender to what is, wherever you are today and whatever emotional state you're in. It just is who you are, where you are at this moment. Emotions come and go like clouds in the sky or waves on the ocean or the lakes. You don't need to hold on to them. They're really just things that come and go. And then open to all the possibilities of healing, and then allow the great healing energy, because the universe is filled with healing love energy, and all you need to do is allow it to come through you. Release the inner mental boxes and blockages and emotional blocks and boxes in your astral body and any physical body ailments. Just open to release those, and then you will receive the healing transformational benefits of the great healing love that is coming your way. The big love, as we call it, from Spirit. Now, as you go through this process, you will find that the thing that maximizes your healing and growth and evolution personally is the following: that you develop an inner sense of humility, but more importantly, you develop a necessity and a need and a choice to stay vulnerable. The people who can choose to be vulnerable, to share their feelings, to share their thoughts, to share their truth and reality, face to face, heart to heart with another one, are the ones who can feel more resilience. And resilience is a word we'll come back to all the time, to create the self-worth and the self-confidence. Vulnerability is for people who are the strongest and want to get stronger. And I would encourage all you to be vulnerable and to find that inner resilience through this process. Now, this whole path is one that Carl Jung calls individuation, and that's an important thing. And we understand that we'll get into that at a future time as well. In the meantime, I'd like to just say that the way to create this for yourself is through empathy. Empathy is the one thing that heals you and connects you to your own soul, your own divinity and humanity, and your inner child, and also to create beautiful, trusting, lasting friendships. So until we see each other again, I'd like to say all love to you. And love stands for the following: living with openness, vulnerability, and empathy. Love, living with openness, vulnerability, and empathy. God bless.